Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Curtis, and in this video I'll be showing you how to take your floor plans and do a 2D render with it. So these are the drawings that we're working with. We just completed this project for our client. So we have the elevations. It's a simple single-story house. In a later video I'll show how to go in and create all these various drawings. So we have the elevations, we have the sections, external dimensions, internal and external. We have a floor finish drawing, as well as a door and window schedule, electrical layout. So to do the 2D floor plan, rendered floor plan, what we need to do is we need to create a duplicate of the existing floor plan. We need to create two copies. So we do one as a reference and one as the one that will actually be edited. So the reference will be used to get the scale for all the furniture and the appliances, and the second one, which would be the actual one that we edit, and we'd put the floor finishes on that one and then start adding all the assets. So just going over why I think a rendered floor plan is very important. So over the years we've noticed that a lot of clients, whether it be men or women, sometimes they don't understand how to read the line drawings. Now, it's not that something wrong with the drawings or something wrong with the client. It's just that some people don't get the line work. They don't just understand it. But by doing a rendered floor plan, it helps with presentation and it makes it a bit clearer to understand for someone who would be looking at a floor plan for the first time. So what we do is we'll create a copy of any one. All of them are basically blocks. So we create a copy of any one and we'd make a copy of the copy. Then we'd create a bounding box, basically around one of them, and then we'll copy that bounding box to the second one. So the reason for creating this bounding box is we want both the reference as well as the file that we'll be editing to be the exact same size. And by creating a rectangle, what we do now is when we go to print and save it as a PDF, we'll actually plot the rectangle. And by plotting the rectangle, both files will be the exact same. So on the first file with the reference, we leave everything as is. And with the second one, we would delete all the beds, the furniture, the sink, everything inside. And what we'd also need to do is we need to create lines, separating lines, because when Photoshop applies a filter layer, it would fill the entire thing, and we want lines that would separate different components. So let's say here would be the laundry room. We need to put in this line to say that the laundry room tile would be separate from the corridor wood flooring. So when we go into Photoshop, this would be one element and this would be an element by itself. So you would need to take the time and go in based on your drawings and create these lines where needed. So what we do is, because we have a floor finish drawing, we already have the separation, right? So we have the lines in already, so we just go in and recreate these lines and put them on the image to be exported. When you get done with that, you just go Control P and you plot. What we want to do is we want to plot the box itself, and by plotting the box, this is what we get. So if we plot the reference image on the box, we'd get this exact same thing, but with the furniture inside. So that would be it for the AutoCAD aspect of it. So now we'd hop across to Photoshop and start editing this. All right, so now we're in Photoshop. We would open the files that we just saved from AutoCAD, and we go File, open the reference first. And so you see it import on a PDF, so we just open the PDF as a media box, so it would be within the box that we save. So we open it. Now PDF doesn't have a background unless you create a background. It will be transparent. Since in AutoCAD we basically just draw the walls and everything within it, you would see it have this checkerboard to the back because there isn't a background. So what we do is we create a layer and we'll drag the layer to the bottom. We would rename this one a reference layer, and we'll just assign a color, so that way you would know this when you start to get mixed up with the files. You would know that this one is the actual reference. And then on the background we'll fill it with white, just so you can see the reference. What I like to do is create a couple duplicates of the reference, because some of the lines are a bit lighter. So press Alt and we drag down, and what it basically doing is creating copies, and you'd see the line darken up, and then we could just select all of the copies and we just merge it into one layer. So everything got back dark, we just reassign red. Now we would open the actual image I will be editing. Same setting, media box, bring it in. Now with this one, you want to actually drag this file and place it over the reference. So go down with that, and you can see because the boxes would save the same, everything just snapped together, which is exactly why we created that bounding box to begin with. We scale to fit, and everything looks like it lined up there. So the reference to the top and the file that we'll be editing to the bottom. So what we'll do now is we'll start filling out the areas, and then after filling it out, we would turn that fill into a texture. So to do this, we would always do it in a non-destructive way. So this is the first file here that we'll be using to add materials onto for the floor. So we make a copy of that and always place it to the bottom. We'll change the fill color from white to, it could be any color, it could go literally any color. We'll just fill. So the first thing we'd fill is we'll do all the areas that need to be tiled. So this is the laundry, so we tile that. Bathrooms, front porch, as well as the kitchen. So those are the areas that need to be tiled, and we have this bedroom. Right, so with that done, what we would do now is we would go across and we'd create an effect where we do a pattern overlay. And I created some patterns, so here we could use a tile. Let's say we could use this tile. We could use this tile. And then the nice thing about doing it this way is we could actually scale and create a different look by changing the size of the tiles. And then if you want a different color, now what you could do is you could even go to color overlay. We change it to red, and we change the blending mode to multiply. Red might be a bit off because nobody wants a red tile. Let's just say you want to do, like, you want to turn it into a gray tile, and you can play around with the different blending modes here, get different variations of colors. Something that you may like, but we won't be doing that. We'll be sticking with just the standard colors. So that's the tiles. So you can rename this tile, and we'll create another copy, and we'll basically do the same thing again for the wood floors. And okay, so that's it. So we go back in and we do another pattern, and we will look for a wood pattern. Darker floor doesn't look bad, you know. Darker floor doesn't look bad. Okay, so let's say we go with, let's go with the darker floor. Now, the nice thing about working this way is if, let's say, we leave out this area here, which is a step, and we want to go in and fill back the step, all we need to do is just select the layer, which was the tile layer, and we just fill, and it would fill our style. Another thing that we could do also is, let's say we want the orientation of the tile to be the opposite direction. Let's take that out. Right, so we create a copy of this, and we go image, rotate 90, and then we come back in and we fill. Right, and now we assign the pattern. So because of the orientation of the pattern, we want the pattern to be going, you know, lengthways along the house. So we could set that to scale, and then we just go back, image, rotate 90 counterclockwise, and we back to where we were, and we got the orientation how we wanted. Alright, so we just go back in and we'll fill the other items, such as we do our wood for the closet, we would do a granite countertop for the island and kitchen and so on, and I'll get back to you when that's done. Alright, so now that we finish doing all the floor materials, what we'll do is we neaten up the file a bit, and then we'd import the furniture and so on. So how we do this, first I like to select all the items excluding the reference, and then we press Ctrl G to create a group. We create a copy of the group and hide it underneath the white background, and then for the group itself we'll merge the group, so the group is actually one solid file. And we would select the house, we press Ctrl Shift I to invert the mask and hit delete. So what we do, we got rid of the bounding box because it's not needed, and now we just have the house itself that we could start working on. So what we do now is I have a list of assets that I got, so it's called white palette. It's two files actually. So I bring in the file, and these are where I get my furniture from, and I have palette 2, which is right. So this is why I normally use, and I would start pulling these assets in and scaling them down. Now the items here not to scale clearly, as you could see the sink with regards to the size of the car. So that is the reason for creating the reference file at the beginning. So when you start pulling these things in now, you could scale it down or up to where it needs to be in order to fit within the house itself. Right, so we'll move on and we'll start importing different elements and filling out the space. Alright, so what we do now is we'll start bringing in all this stuff. So I would turn on the reference layer so you can see where the beds are. Now the reference layer still has the bounding box, but that doesn't matter because when we save this file, we'll turn that layer off. So you don't need to worry about that. So the first thing we bring in the bed. So I have bring in I would bring in this bed here. Okay, so you can see when we bring in the bed may be bigger than the image itself. So what we need to do is we need to Control T, scale it down a bit to get it to fit. So the way this asset was created, it has the pillow coming up. So if I jam the bed to the top here, you'd see it get cut off. It actually goes into the window, which we don't want. But the nice thing about Photoshop, we could edit anything. So basically just cut off the top of that. And what I like to do now is I like to create a drop shadow. So I'll create a shadow that would show as if it's casting from the light above and creating a shadow on the floor. So let's say we doesn't have to be a far distance. We want the size to have a bit of blur to it. We don't want it to be like a hard shadow. And then we drop the opacity, and right there I think we're okay with that. You can see the difference. All right, so what we would do is we would place that there, and we would first of all we will copy the layer style, so that way for any item that we put in and we need to create the drop shadow, we would basically be replicating the same shadow, so everything looks, you know, like it belongs together. Right, so we would duplicate the bed, and we would put one here, and come and we put one across this in this room, and easy as that, we have 2 beds in. All right, so next thing we would bring in, let's bring in the dining table. So bring in the dining table, we'll scale it down to fit, and because we copied the layer style from the bed, so we could just do is just go and paste layer style, and now we get the shadows for the table. So I would go in and I would add the different elements, and I'll get back to you when I get done. Right, so there you have it. So this is the final product. We rendered out everything. We'll be saving this as a JPEG, and that would be it. So for comparison, for before and after, this is after and this is before, so you could see the difference. It's a lot simpler for a client to look at the renders and understand exactly what's going on. You know, it's easy for investors also. So if you're working on a project and you have an investor that you want to show the project to, this is what we proposing. This is one of the best ways, apart from doing a 3D render. So again, if you like this content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would be trying to drop maybe 2 to 3 videos a week with anything related to architectural design, 3D rendering, 2D rendering, 3D modeling, so on. So that is it. See you all in the next video.